Okay. All right. So very important rule that you understand, very common rule when you're out there performing your tasks in the field. 62114, overcurrent protection and grouping for your heating circuits. Let's go take a look at this Appendix B note. 62114, C note to 8104, and obviously 62114. Let's go see the note here. What they're talking about here is 80% rated overcurrent devices, right? Heating, continuous load. Fuse switches and circuit breakers. Not marked as suitable for continuous operation at either 80% or 100% of the rating of their overcurrent devices are considered to be suitable for operation at 80%. So in a previous video on this rule, 8-104, we looked at continuous loading. It applies to heating. So that's what that note's about, and you'll see in the rules coming down as we go here. All right. 62114, subrule 1. Every heating fixture, heating cable set, heating panel set, or parallel heating set having an input of more than 30 amps shall be supplied by a branch circuit that supplies no other equipment. Just a statement there. Subrule 2. In buildings for residential occupancy, 2 or more heating fixtures, heating cable sets, or heating panel sets shall be permitted to be connected to a branch circuit used for space heating, provided that the branch circuit overcurrent devices are rated or set at not more than 30 amps. So 62114 is going to be our example here, subrule 2. And it's going to be, these are going to be thermostats and baseboard heater. So we'll carry on with the rule. So 62114, subrule 2 is the one we're going to apply. Then we're down to subrule 3. In other than buildings for residential occupancy. So subrule 2 is the residential occupancy, and subrule 3 is everywhere else. In other than buildings for residential occupancy, 2 or more heating fixtures, heating cable sets, heating panel sets, or parallel heating sets shall be permitted to be grouped on a branch circuit, and the branch circuit overcurrent devices shall not be set or rated in excess of 60 amps unless a deviation has been allowed in accordance with Rule 2-030 to use overcurrent devices having a higher setting or rating. 2-030, that's your special permission by the authority having jurisdiction, so that's the inspection department. B, where 3 heating fixtures, heating cable sets, heating panel sets, or parallel heating sets are grouped on a branch circuit in a balanced 3-phase arrangement, the branch circuit overcurrent devices shall be permitted to be set or rated in excess of 60 amps. Subrule 4. Where 2 or more heating fixtures, heating cable sets, heating panel sets, or parallel heating sets are grouped on a single branch circuit, the non-heating leads of heating cable sets, heating fixtures, and taps to heating cable sets, heating fixtures, and strip systems shall A, have an ampacity not less than 1/3 that of the rating of the branch circuit overcurrent device, and be not more than 7.5 meters long. All right, so we're going to do subrule 2 and 4A and B as well. These you get to apply in this type of installation. Let's keep going. Subrule 5. Notwithstanding subrule 4, where the rating or setting of the overcurrent device does not exceed the ampacity of the non-heating leads and taps to the heating leads and the non-heating leads, and the taps to the heating devices meet the requirements of 12-102, there shall be no length limitation as required by subrule 4B. Just a statement there. 6. Now we're getting into the good stuff. Where a service, feeder, or branch circuit is used solely for the supply of energy to heating device sets, the load as determined using 62118, that's the demand factor rule, we'll look at that later, shall not exceed 100% of the rating or setting of the overcurrent devices protecting the service conductors, feeders, or branch circuits conductors when the fuse switch or circuit breaker is marked for continuous operation at 100% of the ampere rating of its overcurrent device. You're not going to get 100% rated circuit breakers in a residential occupancy. So really you're down at 6B. Where a branch so this is a branch circuit in this case. So where a branch circuit is used solely for the supply of energy to a heating device sets, the load as determined using 62118 shall not exceed 80% of the rating of the overcurrent devices protecting the service conductors, feeders, or branch circuit conductors when the fuse switch or circuit breaker is marked for continuous operation at 80% of the ampere rating of its overcurrent device. All right, so imagine we're going to use a 30 amp breaker. We can only load it to 80%. So 0.8 times 30, that'll give us 24 amps. We'll make these heaters here 240 volt. So 24 times 240, that would give us the 5,760 watts of heat that we could put on the branch circuit. So I run my number 10 out to the thermostats in the individual rooms, and then I'm going to drop off and pick up the heaters in the individual rooms. All right? So here we have 2 kilowatts, 1,000 watts. And 1,000 again. So this is just an example that we're making up to show you the practical aspects of how do you apply the rule. All right, then because the tap conductor now, we are under 7.5, I can reduce the size of the wire from the thermostat down. Okay, so if we think of it here, we go back not more than 7.5 meters long, so in subrule 4, have an ampacity not less than 1/3 that of the branch circuit overcurrent device. So I got to be at least 1/3 of that. That's 10 amps. So number 14 is good for. If we think of it, let's go look at table 2. These would all be 75 degrees. So termination temperature rule would be in play. And I'd be using NMD 90. So the key is don't be fooled by the termination temperature. That limits you to the ampacity of the conductor when you connect it. But as far as the 1/3 rule goes, it's about what conductor are you using. So if we're using number 14, it's rated for 25 amps. All right? The termination temperature applies when we connect the equipment, but when you're applying the 1/3 rule, you're using whatever conductor you're using, it's the 1/3 of whatever you're using. So in this case, we use NMD 90, 10, 2 all the way through here, and then we're just going to drop off from the thermostats and pick up the heaters. Number 14. And number 14. Now, there possibly could be a chance that somewhere in here you could have reduced the size of the conductor as well. But for what we're just trying to teach you here is how to apply the rule, all right? Because you got to keep it simple for your students to understand the basics here. As long as the conductor is at least 80% of the overcurrent device and is not longer than 7.5 meters, we can reduce the size of it. All right? So that takes us to, we'll go back there. That's good enough there for you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.